Welcome.
Hello.
I'm Adria.
I'm Andrea, and welcome to
The Chronic Hustle.
Welcome back, everybody.
What's up?
How are you doing, Adria?
I am lovely. How are you?
Yeah.
I am.
Good. I'm good. I got my tea.
Okay. I got my coffee.
We got the heater going.
We do.
I got my hoodie on again for part 2. I'm cozy.
I know. I love how the heater is on you and you're in a hoodie, and then I'm in a short sleeve shirt.
I'm sorry.
No. Don't be sorry.
Look, if you need me to turn the heater off, we can do that.
No.
We had to do that one in the podcast. You were like, Andrea, I'm gonna let you finish, but I am burning.
It's an oven in here. No. Let's keep the heater on. I know it helps you. It feels good. All the things.
It does, but I might. Well, just let me know. Okay.
Will.
So, is this the one that we did last time?
Yes.
Okay. So we're gonna get into our icebreaker. I'm gonna reach into. I have to put the lid on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna reach into our handy dandy sparkly box of ice-breaking questions. Dun, 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 dun. Hey. All right. Let me find one. Okay. I'll use this one. I've reached into the box. I'm unwrapping the question. Okay. So, I went to a party over the weekend, and this was a question. It was great. What makes you irrationally angry?
Oh my God, Andrea.
And so I heard it on a podcast before, and the girl said it, and I didn't realize this until I heard her say it. She said that she gets angry when people are out in public and they talk on their speakerphone. Out in public.
Okay.
Out loud. And I agree. I can't stand that. When people are just on their speakerphone.
I don't think that would make me irrationally angry.
I feel like that's rational. I feel like you can rationally be mad at people who talk on speakerphone in public.
When you talk about irrationally, I'm going to keep it 1,000 with you.
Let's go.
When people don't say excuse me, or I'm walking and people are... the unawareness, especially in New York, because I have family in New York.
Oh.
That's
a New York hello.
Tip, walking around there. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go when I'm out there, but also in Michigan, because, Michiganders, we move a little slower than a lot of people, but you ever, walking in a grocery store and, someone is clearly in your way? There's a difference between you being in somebody's way and them being in your way. And when people don't say excuse me, use your words. Be kind and just say excuse me. You don't have to I don't know. That makes me
No, it's so funny that you bring up
off.
walking, because I was going to say that. In times that I'm feeling really good and I'm just jauntily strolling about, if somebody's in front of me, I get walk rage. And it's
walk
I gotta
rage.
move!
Yes, road rage.
But then other times where I want to stroll and enjoy, and then somebody behind me is walking fast,
on your
I'm
ass. I know, absolutely.
Move around me.
Yeah.
But I've just started this new thing. Instead of me saying excuse me to people, now I say watch out. It's a nice, nasty way of saying move your ass.
Andrea, she said, watch out.
Watch out.
Wait,
watch
you
out.
say it like that? Watch out.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry.
Watch out. I don't know. I feel like it's hard for me to do it while I'm on a microphone and trying
watch out. I feel like.
Yeah. Watch out. It is, because I'm telling you, watch out, because
I'm coming through.
Not excuse me, because that's excuse my existence. No.
That's true.
Watch out, because I'm coming through and I am a person and I'm about to be right here.
I always say pardon me, as in pardon me crossing you while you're looking at the spaghetti.
You know what? That is
pardon me. I know you're looking and
it doesn't flow naturally from my mouth. Pardon. Maybe I can try to use that a little bit more.
Watch out.
Watch out.
I don't know. We might have to meet up at Trader Joe's and test that out.
We'll try it a couple of times.
Okay.
Watch out. We got to be okay, go over there into that group and just hit them with the watch out.
Oh my God. Okay. I like that one. What makes y'all irrationally angry?
Yeah. And then, how do you get past groups of people who don't want to move too? Yeah. Share. Okay. So, icebreaker done. Check.
Yeah.
Let's move into EDS part 2. So, as a quick recap, from the last episode, I can just go right into just like a couple of the symptoms that kind of led me to, the next step of the story. But so by this point, I was at the peak of my experiencing symptoms. I was bracing a lot of my joints at this time. I was wearing a knee brace every day. I was wearing these arch supports as well as heel supports. My arches felt very collapsed. I had heel spurs. My ankles felt sprained. My knees were in a lot of pain if I would bend them. At any type of bending hurt my knees. Hips were just consistently dull aches as well as like radiating aches. I had symptoms of sciatica in my right leg, and then up my whole spine was in terrible pain. I couldn't lay flat. I couldn't lay on my side. I couldn't lay on my belly without experiencing pain through my spine. Through my thoracic spine, I was having tingly, I don't know if something's being pinched, but I was experiencing these like very sharp, like crackly pains. Shoulders felt like I was constantly like trying to brace my body to keep my shoulders on. If I was like vacuuming, if I would extend my arm, it would be like, slide out of place. I'd pull it back and it would like slide out of place that way. So it was just, so I would have to like prop my elbow and then kind of like move my body while I vacuumed.
That's terrifying.
It was,
sorry to interrupt you, but that's just like terrifying.
It was, especially because I didn't know what was wrong.
Right.
And in the midst of all this, I was also newly working as a teacher and a manager of a yoga studio that I freaking owned. So in the daylight, I was portraying this very strong, this very motivating, this intelligent teacher that you can come and you can trust and learn how to move your body. But at night, I was up countless hours trying to learn more, trying to like figure out what these weaknesses were in my body. I kept just thinking, I have muscle imbalances. So I have to strengthen this, and I have to strengthen that, and then I have to stretch this. But I was lying to myself about things. I was like, okay, you're fine, you're just weak, but I was in a lot of pain. And then fast forward to the moment that I meet Adria, and I was looking for a new teacher. Or I wanted her to come and just do like
It was like a guest.
Yeah, I was going to have her do a guest pop-up at the studio. And we went out to eat at just this local place. And she shares her story with me. And she shares her experiences of pain. And she shared her experience talking with a pain therapist or pain counselor.
Chronic pain therapist.
Chronic pain therapist.
Yeah.
And y'all, when I say she was telling me this was at a point where I wasn't talking to anybody about my pain. So I was like hiding it. And so when she was telling me this, it was like, I was like, wait, first of all, you gave me permission because you were a yoga teacher and you told me that you were experiencing pain. And it gave me permission to be okay with experiencing pain too. And then you gave me hope because I was like, there's somebody that I can talk to who can help me with this pain. And so it started to kind of like get the wheels turning in my head. And then we also got Adria on as a regular teacher at the studio. So that was cool. Yeah. Yeah, and honestly, I was at a point, I was teaching, I was modifying the way I was teaching. I was like, all right, we're going to do all these movements with straight legs. Like, we're going to do balancing here. Everything that I was doing, I was making sure that I was demonstrating on different legs. So nobody knew Nobody could even tell. The only way that people could tell was if I was like limping a little bit, because I had a tendency to limp, and I would just put it off on having plantar fasciitis, and people were appeased with that. But not knowing that I was having a slew of other symptoms. So that's where I was. And it was just everyday activities were affected. When I would go grocery shopping, I would go to, I couldn't wait to get from my car to a grocery cart, because using that cart was helpful. Like I could put my arm on the cart and I could lean my whole body, and I would literally walk like one foot in front of the other. And I walked so slowly because it felt like everything was just being destabilized with every step that I took. And I live on the second floor of my apartment. I have to go up these stairs. Oh, those stairs would be the bane of my existence, to get home and look up at those stairs and want to cry. Yeah. Thinking like, how am I supposed to get up these stairs? And these are things that people, they couldn't see, and I felt like I couldn't talk about it because I'm going and I'm teaching these classes and I'm running this studio, and I can't even walk up stairs without experiencing lots of pain and feeling defeat and being out of breath. And it was just, I was really freaking confused. So fast forward to me reading that blog. I talked about it in the last episode. And as soon as I read that blog of a woman who has EDS, I knew right away. Everything clicked. Everything started making sense. And so from that point, I made an appointment with a general practitioner. I didn't have insurance at the time, so everything that I was doing, yes, right?
Oh,
no
shit.
insurance. She said, oh, shit. Yeah. I didn't have insurance. So,
didn't have insurance and seeking diagnosis.
Come on.
That is some shit.
That's some shit. Some bullshit.
Some bullshit.
It's fucked up. And so I made an appointment, so everything had to be incredibly intentional. And so I went to my general practitioner. Well, no, a general practitioner. I didn't have one. And so I went there, and like I already knew that I thought I had this, and I was like shaky. I had like a couple of notes, and I was like, I think that I have this. And so I had like, but my notes were pretty effective. You know, I had all of my symptoms written down. I even took pictures of my body in different like positions so you can see all of the hypermobility in my body. And the doctor was skeptical. He was just kind of like, I don't see any hypermobility in your legs. First of all, doctor, I've been walking around with these legs for 30 years, and they have curved backwards for 30 years. Everyone has teased me and made fun of me slapping the back of my legs. You know, when you lean into the back of your legs, somebody likes to like smack them to see if you crumple. And yeah, for the doctor to literally tell me that.
Yeah, it's amazing how much they don't know about anatomy though as well.
I was floored. But he did know there's a 10-point test where, you know, you bend back certain. Can you do that?
No, girl, this is as much as I got.
Yeah.
And that hurts.
Yeah, so past 90 degrees, your pinky, I don't feel anything. And then, your thumb to your wrist. And so I was showing him these things, and he,
Oh, no.
Were you close? Oh, wow.
This hurts.
Don't. It should never,
Okay.
You should never go to a point of hurting. She's like trying to bend her thumb backwards. So yeah. Yeah, it doesn't. I literally nothing.
Okay.
It's so funny to me when I witness it on myself.
Oh my God. Okay.
Anyway, so I'm showing him these things, and he's like, "Well, you definitely have hypermobility." He's like, "I don't think that you have EDS though," and he was like, "But I'll send you to a rheumatologist." And so, you know, by this point I had been filling in, you know, my family and like my mom and my sister. And I felt a little defeated after that first experience, because I was like, they're like, what did they say? And like, was it confirmed? And it was like, no, you know, he said that he wasn't sure. So he sent me to this rheumatologist. Now, here's a key point. I looked up that rheumatologist, and he had terrible reviews. So I looked at my own rheumatologist, and I couldn't get in until November.
Right.
So August, I got that appointment, and not until November was I able to get into one of the, well, on Google, he was the best rheumatologist in Michigan.
And that's such an important part.
Yes,
too. Yeah.
and we'll get into that. We have the advocacy
Yeah.
episode coming up. So anyway, so I get to him, and this is November, and so he sits me down, and he's like, okay. He sits me down, and he's like, tell me about your symptoms. And I was like, okay. And now by this point, I had so many journals. I had been doing like chronic pain, like management. I mean, like all of the things that I've been doing to manage it, all of the things that I felt like could affect it, time frames, everything. Like I was on point. You couldn't tell me anything. I was prepared. And so I talked, and he wasn't looking at me. He was typing the whole time. And I started to like doubt myself and start to feel like that same experience that I was having with that other doctor, like he wasn't connecting with me. He was just looking and just typing. And literally he let me talk, and he's like, and he asked me some questions, some leading questions. And so I would answer. And so that went on for about maybe like 30 minutes, 35, 40 minutes. And then he's like, okay. And then so he sits me up on the table, and he asks me to do certain things. He kind of moves my body a little bit here and there. And, he asks me, am I experiencing pain here, experiencing pain there? And so he does like a physical assessment. After that, he sits me back down on the chair. He's like, okay, I definitely think that you have EDS. That's confirmed. Boom. He's like, and I also think that you have fibromyalgia. And I was like, well, what? I got a what? And that was something that I had ruled out in the process of my diagnosis. Sure. Once I found out that EDS also has chronic pain, I was like, cool, I don't have this. And he was like, I think that you have fibromyalgia. And reason why, he started to talk to me about trauma and he brought up the book, How the Body Keeps the Score. Yeah. And he asked me how was my childhood. And I had a very, very, I would say, peaceful / sheltered, both and, childhood. And I was very much to myself. I stayed in my room. I was very safe. I was quiet. I loved to sit by heaters and read. I was like a cat. I played with my cousins and stuff like that, but I was very sequestered into my safe spaces. And so to go out into the world after my gauge on life being set to very calm and controlled to life, there was a switch. And he asked me, was there a moment in my life where I experienced something that could have caused a huge switch? And he particularly asked me about violence in my life. And I did have a moment where in my early 20s, where I was raped. And I was not expecting to talk about that in front of a rheumatologist, and to talk about how that could be causing me pain years and years later. And so when he brought up The Body Keeps the Score and how things get trapped in your body, I started to shake, and I felt myself getting emotional. I felt like this is not what I signed up for, and I did start to cry. And he was very matter of fact about it, and he said that he did believe that my fibromyalgia could get better through therapy, which is something that, reading about it now, I hear controversial and mixed reviews on that. Some people think that kind of invalidates experiences. Some people think that it validates it. So I'm still kind of trying to find where I am with it. But he does believe that that's where the onset of my symptoms started. And I agree. For me, I don't think that necessarily is for everyone, but for me, I do agree with that.
Absolutely. And I would just say to that, like, I actually think that traumatic events are very much so the flip of the switch for those who get, if you really observe your chronic illness or your ailment when you got ill, and you observe like anything around that, you can, I think that there is a correlation.
And honestly, even like within that, like I would say year after that happened, I was in so much denial about it, and I was like, I like blacked it out. I just completely disowned that part, and like I didn't acknowledge it for what it was. And so I think that there was a point I think not until I started actually like doing the work and I went to therapy, and then I started feeling the emotions, and it's like okay, then a lot came with it after it, through it. And so, and it still is like a process. Absolutely. But I do agree with that, yes. And there, again, there's a lot of mixed things out there about that, different opinions. Some people believe that, depression, anxiety, and experiences have no direct effect on symptoms of fibromyalgia or on symptoms of chronic pain, and some people say that they do. And it's really difficult trying to find out where you are in all of that. And I think it's important to take everybody's opinion and everybody's perspective as with a grain of salt.
Sure.
You take what works for you and leave the rest. Yeah. And for me, I do think that it's important for me to get to the bottom of that. Like, what did it make me feel? And he recommended for me I never get this acronym right.
EMR?
Is there a D in there?
EDMR?
Yeah.
Emotional something.
Eye movement redirection.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I haven't tried it yet. I've been meaning to. I keep saying it, and then I get busying, hustling. Yeah. And so I do plan on doing that. If anybody has any experience with it, please, reach out, email. Absolutely. So yeah, that was my situation, and that's when I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia, which was another limb. From there, I made an appointment with, now that I have my diagnosis, now that I know that this is official, this is a thing that I have, fibromyalgia I kind of like put on the back burner because I was like, I'm just going to do EMDR and I'm going to heal it. That was a very sarcastic voice for people who are listening. Heal it. I'm just going to heal it, and I'm just going to whatever. Sure. And I was like, all right, let me just work on this EDS first. And because I can't walk right now. Period. So, so I was like, let me just, and I don't, not to say that I couldn't walk. I couldn't walk without a lot of pain.
Which means that you couldn't walk, period.
Okay. Thank you. But I just didn't want to,
you was walking, but not the way that everyone else out here just walking around. No, you could not walk. I
was like holding my breath
you were
to walk.
Bracing it. Exactly, which is like...
I still do.
We call it the living dead. Like, literally living, but you weren't really walking.
No, yeah. Okay, thank you,
Absolutely.
Adria. See? So now I go to my physical therapist, and I made, if you guys go back to the What's Up Doc episode, you'll hear about my experience with Dr. Raghu. He was incredible. And yeah, for my first appointment, he was like, you got to leave. You have too much. I had too much inflammation in my body because of the way that I was walking. It was creating so much inflammation. Literally, he had me like feel my hips, and then he had me feel my thigh, and he was like, feel the difference in temperature between your hips and your thigh. And it literally was like I had this fever raging through my hips, and my thighs were calm, and that was showing how much the inflammation was in my hips. So he told me to go to a primary care physician and get anti-inflammatory to bring that down. Sure. So I did that, and then when I finally came back to him after 30 days, that was when he was able to do a full body assessment on me, and he told me that I have a condition, I guess, or it's a bone makeup, and it's called anteversion. And anteversion is when your hips are set on internal rotation. So your toes point in. Everybody used to make fun of me saying that I'm pigeon-toed, and I was pigeon-toed for a reason. It was because my hips are set at that internal rotation. And like 98% of people grow out of it, but I never did. And I was trying to look up so many things about anteversion online, and it was all about kids, nothing about adults. If you're an adult and you have anteversion, please send me a message. Let's connect. But so because I had anteversion, but I was trying to live the life and appear a certain way, I was turning my feet out and I was trying to walk and look normal. I was tearing the labrum of my hips, but because my hips, this is literally bone on bone we're talking about, but because my body is hypermobile, all of my joints were compensating for it. So that's why my knees were experiencing so much pain, because they were turning outward. My knees were starting to act like hips. Knees should only be bending this way. My knees were like, let's externally rotate for you, since that's what you're trying to do, Andrea. My ankles had completely collapsed because I was trying to turn out. And so he told me that you have to walk with your feet like this, or you have to get your hips taken out and cut around and do all this, pop them back in. He's like, so what do you want to do? And I was like, okay, I guess I'm going to be walking with my feet turned in. Yeah. And he said, do that for a month, come back pain-free, and then we're going to go back. Then we'll talk about more physical therapy. Wow. And I was like, boo, he's not right. And then when I tell you, I started walking like that, it changed so much for me. So yes, it's so important to get a good physical therapist, someone who understands. But he really, it wasn't just his suggestion. We went back and forth, and I was like, no, how do you know this? Yeah. And how do you know that? I was questioning him, and I was getting back with him, and he was showing me with my own body, look, you cannot do this, but you can do this, right? Nobody can do that. That's because your bones are set like this. He literally had to shut me up. And when he did, and things finally clicked into place, and then I started to move with the way that my body is, not everybody else, my body. My inflammation went down incredibly. I still experience pain. Pain is part of the EDS experience, but that helped me get it to a point where I could start to breathe and walk. And so, and he gave me the permission to just do less. I would come in so should I be building up strength? Should I be squatting with and he's like, no, stop, just stop. And bringing it back to meet your baby. Right. when you first get that diagnosis, you first have that newborn, you can't do it all. New moms can't do it all. There are going to be those moments where you just need to nap, where you just need to chill. And I was fresh off this diagnosis, fresh off of learning new movement patterns for my body, experiencing new medication for my body. And so he was just encouraging to tell me to just chill.
And this is after years
of me thinking that I was weak and trying to push my body and do this and do more and do that. And now I have a licensed professional whose job is to make you work out. And he's like, no, you chill. Yeah. You chill. And he did say and he was like, look, yoga is okay. You can do yoga. You're not in the wrong field. Yeah. You're not you didn't choose the wrong career path, because trust me, I was having the panic attack. It was happening. The panic was attacking me. Yeah, absolutely. And he said, you have to learn how to work in your range of motion, which is mid-range. Don't go full extent. Don't keep stretching until you can start feeling things. chill a little bit. And now I'm learning how to find strength in mid-range of motion. So that's a whole new thing. We can get further into that. But talking to him helped me get to a point where I could walk.
Yeah, and one thing I'll say, because the one common thing that has come up in your story is being within the 1 or 2% of a lot of different things. Like, that has come up at least twice, maybe 3 times, I don't know, but at least twice in what I can record. And I will say that
in my experience, or in yours?
In yours.
Oh, in mine.
In
yes.
yours only, just in listening to you and understanding your story. And I will just have to say, like, that uniqueness, that like again, the same thing, like, a lot of people would look at that as like, damn, why did I fall into that 1 or 2%? But it's like, that is what sets you apart. And then to be in the field that we're in is like, that's extremely unique and extremely useful. Yeah. Because I feel like there's EDS, but there are so many other hypermobile conditions. And then also just different kind of ailments that people get, surgeries.
Yeah.
All of these things can be applied to what you've been through. But I think that that's a huge part of like the chronic hustle, is understanding that you are different.
Yeah.
And it's okay. And to like settle into that and to own it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a practice.
It's a
everyday daily practice.
Every day.
And that's the beauty in the community of EDS, because EDS is for the most part considered a rare disease. Yeah. And so when you meet somebody else who has it, or
it's like finding a unicorn.
Oh,
yeah.
It is a zebra.
A zebra
unicorn.
A zebra unicorn.
Okay. But so, I mean, to kind of like bring it all together, I think the biggest thing for me in this diagnosis process, and in me like learning more about this and about myself in this experience, I think the biggest thing for me, it was very helpful for me to keep track of my symptoms.
Right.
And to have a journal about the things that I was experiencing. And then I think it was really, really, really incredibly important. It was pivotal for me to cultivate safe space relationships. So like that experience that I had with you, if I hadn't had that conversation, I don't know if I would be where I am. I know I wouldn't have. So that immediately, having those people around you, making sure that when you're experiencing pain, that you have somebody that you trust, that you can talk to, someone who will validate that, someone who will hold space for that. Absolutely. And I'm so grateful for you. I'm grateful for my mom, for my sister, and for friends who have been around, who could see that. Yeah. They didn't shy away from it, and they would hold that space for me. And I think it's very important for people to find those people Absolutely. In their life and acknowledge that and share their gratitude to that person. So yeah. And also 3 is to know that you aren't weak. For me, I spent years and years and years thinking that I was weak, and I still struggle with it now, but knowing that my body is just different.
And here's the thing.
Okay.
Here's the thing.
Come
the
on.
Chronic hustle, when you're doing everything that anyone else would do with your condition. So to me, like, the strongest. That is strength. Like, we are strong. Like, I love that you just said that. Like, we are not weak. It's actually quite the contrary.
Right. Because people who don't have these experiences, they can look from the outside and say, oh, she's making that up, or she's using that cane because she's weak, or whatever. And don't let that get to you. It can get into your head. and have you doubting yourself. But know that you aren't weak. You walking and persevering, and if you have to use a cane, that is strength. Exactly. Look, I'm reconvincing myself.
No, but it's so important.
And again, yes, it's a process.
Yeah.
It's a daily practice, acknowledging it, knowing it. It's okay to feel weak, but know that you aren't.
This is the chronic hustle. Like,
Period.
Hey,
y'all.
That was so good. Thank you so much.
Good. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited. For those of you who are experiencing EDS or have a diagnosis, I know that we would love to hear from you because it is so rare.
Please.
So I would really love to hear from you guys, your experience. Or if you have any questions, you know, to reach out to us at thechronichustle@gmail.com or on our social media at The Chronic Hustle. My social media, Adria Moses.
Mine is Andrea Mahal.
It's our names. I don't even know if we need to keep saying it, but y'all know who we are.
Yeah, and it's cool because both of our names have A and M in it.
So thanks, y'all, for joining us for episode 8, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Peace.